I never expected a single line of text to hit like a blow. Yet there I was, staring at my phone as if it had turned to stone in my hand. The message pulsed on the screen, taunting me. I'm with Jake tonight. My name is Ethan, 34. And I always thought I had a solid grasp on the rhythms of my relationship with Leia. She's magnetic, sharp, bright, the kind of person who walks into a room and instantly shifts its entire energy without meaning to. We've been together 6 years. We've shared inside jokes, secrets whispered at midnight, tiny triumphs, and quiet disappointments. I never thought jealousy would find a way inside me, but when I read that line, it appeared, not fiery, but cold, deliberate, settling in my chest like a stone. I scrolled through our messages, searching for some clue, some tremor in her words that might have prepared me for this. Nothing. She'd been warm, flirty, familiar, the same woman I met in college, the same woman I introduced to my family, the same woman I believed I could trust without hesitation. The thing about texting is that it strips away tone. 3 words can send your entire world tilting, and you're left guessing which version of reality is true. I could imagine her voice saying it easily, light, joking. But the way it landed inside me felt intentional, pointed, like she wanted me to feel something sharp. I didn't answer right away. I didn't trust what I might say if I reacted instantly. Instead, I set my phone down and walked to the window. I pressed my forehead against the cool glass and let the hum of the city wash over me. Outside, the lights smeared into long streaks, mirroring the way my thoughts twisted. I realized then I had 2 paths, react or respond. And reacting would only give her more control. Our relationship had always been something of a balancing act. Not fragile, just precise. She thrives on impulse, excitement, unpredictability. I need steadiness, honesty, and mutual respect. Somewhere along the line, those needs had scraped against each other too many times, and cracks had formed. I pretended they were small, but apparently they were big enough for this, whatever this was, to slip through. I remembered mornings when she drifted past me in the kitchen, distant, pretending nothing was bothering her while her laughter sounded a beat too late. I remembered nights I stayed awake longer than I should have, waiting for a text that never came. No blowout fights. No obvious betrayal. Just a slow erosion. The kind that makes you feel like you've become transparent. Reading her message now, something finally clicked. This wasn't really about Jake. It wasn't even about the text. It was about something she'd been showing me piece by piece. Disregard. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a small spark of something unfamiliar, control. My own. I sat at my desk, ran a hand through my hair, and started to type. Not an angry rant, not a message designed to guilt her or escalate things. Something clean, measured, final in the way that matters. I wanted to remove the excitement she got from this little performance. While my fingers hovered over the keys, I thought of Milo, my best friend since college, the one who always told me, "Man, don't let someone drag you into games you never agreed to play." Back then it had sounded like a joke. Now it felt like clarity. This wasn't about another guy. It was about what I believed I deserved, and how long I'd allowed myself to settle for less. I looked at her message again. 3 words, heavy enough to tilt everything. Then I typed my reply. Brief, steady, unshakable. I sent it before doubt could interfere, and the familiar whoosh of the notification felt like a line being drawn. The tension in my chest didn't disappear. It sharpened into something precise. I didn't feel victorious, but I felt aligned with myself again. With who I should have been all along. Someone who doesn't shrink, doesn't bend until he breaks, doesn't let anyone diminish him. Whatever game she thought she was playing, it wasn't working anymore. I stood for a while, listening to the low buzz of the city. I imagined her seeing my message, feeling thrown off, maybe even unsettled. And I knew, deep down, that the balance she thought she controlled had shifted. This wasn't revenge. It was boundaries, respect, self-preservation. For the first time in months, peace settled into me. When she finally responded, the night outside had slipped into a deeper quiet. I didn't grab the phone right away. I let the stillness linger. When I did check, her reply lit up the screen. "Ethan, what is this?" I could hear the uncertainty in those words, almost like she didn't recognize the tone I'd taken. The little game she assumed I would participate in had met something unexpected. Certainty. I didn't respond immediately. I let her words hang there, just like she had so many times before. For years I'd twisted myself into knots to make sure she felt valued, understood, secure. I knew her coffee order by heart. I stayed late at work to pick up groceries, swallowed my words during arguments I could have one, and tolerated her moods without complaint. Yet there comes a point when patience ceases to be virtue and becomes surrender. Tonight, surrender was not an option. Leah didn't grasp it immediately. Her next message was long, a mix of frustration and curiosity. Are you seriously ignoring me? Are you going to text me back or just sit there? I smiled faintly, not from triumph, but because clarity feels different than anger. I typed slowly, deliberately. I read your message. I understand what you were trying to provoke. I won't let my emotions be games anymore. It likely took her longer than she expected to grasp the weight of those words. I pictured her pacing, maybe tossing a cushion in irritation, realizing that the thrill she relied on for control was gone. I didn't taunt her. I didn't plead. I simply reclaimed my agency. Hours later, she called. Not a text, a call, shaky, uncertain. Ethan, can we talk? I paused. Normally, I would have answered immediately, but I had learned something important. Engagement doesn't always lead to resolution. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. I let it ring through to voicemail and watched the little icon flash, knowing the power dynamic had shifted. Her usual games no longer worked. The next morning, I met Milo at our usual cafe, coffee in hand, recounting the events. You handled that well, he said, leaning back with a knowing smirk. Most guys would have sent 10 texts, tried to guilt her, begged for an explanation. You didn't. You acted, and that's what matters. His words felt foreign, almost uncomfortable. I had always believed love required patience, endurance, and compromise. But I was discovering a subtle truth. Self-respect and boundaries are just as crucial, if not more. Love without them is merely convenience. When Leah returned home that evening, the energy had shifted. I noticed it the moment she stepped inside. Hesitation, maybe even a hint of regret. She wouldn't admit it, she wouldn't say it aloud, but she had underestimated me. Her first words were tentative, testing the waters. Ethan, I didn't mean. You didn't need to mean anything, I replied. I acted according to what I believe I deserve. Honesty, respect, clarity. That's not negotiable. The rest of the night passed quietly. She attempted small talk, measuring her words. I responded politely, calmly, without agitation. It wasn't revenge or arrogance, it was simple alignment with reality. And in that quiet, a lesson crystallized. Boundaries outweigh approval, and clarity is more powerful than affection manipulated. Weeks later, the dynamic between us had shifted subtly but unmistakably. Leah, for all her charm, moved differently around me. Less testing, less playing. She understood that my respect was not something to be earned through games. It was inherent in my behavior, my standards, my choices. I never said, I told you so. There was no need. The change was evident in how she acted when unprovoked, and in the deliberate strength I carried in every choice. The most valuable lesson I learned is this. Control over your emotions is a form of power, not to dominate or humiliate, but to preserve dignity, protect self-worth, and navigate relationships with intention. I didn't need to break her. I only refused to let her break me. And in that refusal, I found something I had been searching for long before the game began. Peace. A sense of self that remained unshaken by manipulation, untouched by drama, fully aligned with my core values. Her message, meant to unsettle me, to provoke jealousy, to test me, revealed instead a truth that had been quietly waiting. Real power in a relationship isn't about manipulation, it's about remaining steady in self-respect, no matter the chaos. I put the phone down. The sun was rising, painting the city in soft gold. For the first time in a long while, I smiled.